gentlemen, our special guest tonight is no stranger to the world of 40 and paranormal topics. He's been a pillar of the communities forever. Lon Strickler is our guest today, and he is author of several books and also has a podcast of his own, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got an epic show ahead, but just remember, if any of you have experiences you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can either email me at paranormalportalradio@gmail.com or head over to paranormalportal.net. Scroll down and find the button that says Interview Me, and that'll allow you to look at a calendar of possible times and dates and find a date that works for you. Love to hear your stories, so definitely get in touch with me. I do want to touch on some other cryptid stuff as well tonight because, excuse me, I'm curious on your take on it. Is there a Loch Ness Monster? Go.
I know the theories. There are some well-known cryptozoologists who do believe that these are some type of interdimensional being.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that's true or not, especially when it comes to Loch Ness. Do I believe there is a Loch Ness Monster? Generally, probably not.
Okay.
I don't think there's really been enough evidence to even say that there was. Now, I think other aquatic creatures may very well be living beings, just like up in Lake Champlain. I think there's something there. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a misidentified creature, some type, either a whale or something that's just being misidentified. You know, there's been the ABC film. I don't know if you've ever seen the ABC film from Lake Champlain.
I don't think so.
Yeah, there was this long neck thing that was videotaped off the side of a boat.
Oh.
Nobody's really been able to explain that, but the number of sightings in Lake Champlain is pretty interesting.
Okay.
I believe there's something there.
Sure.
Now, it's probably not what people want to think it is.
Okay.
It's not a dinosaur or something like that.
Okay.
I just think it's either a misidentified creature that's got some size to it that people just can't explain as to why it's there.
Okay.
As far as Loch Ness goes, I think that's gotten to more of a legend than anything else because this thing goes way back to St. Columbo, whatever, many, many, many eons ago. And, I just have not really seen the evidence that there's something really there.
Okay.
So I keep an open mind. I mean, if somebody wants to show me something, fine. But
right.
Yeah,
I'm kind of curious too. And I think, I guess, we don't know enough about those deep water areas of our own world.
Right.
I think the water is probably the least explored. I think it's pretty consistently. Yeah. When you think about the oceans and who knows what aquifers connect Loch Ness with, what underneath all of that. But, I have to say though, that after watching Jeremy Wade, that fishing guy on Discovery Channel, pull some of the crap he pulled out of places that even I knew,
river monsters,
it was like, river monsters, like, holy God, those things are down there.
Yeah.
So, and if I saw one of those surface, I would swear it was a Nessie or something. My God, they're monsters.
Sock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think our next great cryptids are going to be coming from the ocean eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, and more discoveries. Of course, they have been able to identify the giant squid now, and
right.
Mm-hmm.
there's video evidence of that, and even large carcasses of these things have been found. So,
right.
Yeah, I think that's the unexplained world right there. I mean, it's right there where we live at, but I think that's where the next great crypt is going to come from.
Sure. Well, the other thing that I wanted to ask you, and this is my one of the biggest curiosities to me is that there's so many claims out there of so many things, and I can understand if there's a 10-foot tall primate out there or some kind of hominid, and I can understand if there's a bipedal canid of some kind out there, and even the white crawlers and stuff, but there's thousands of more things that people claim to see out there. And my question to you, being, Mr. Phantoms and Monsters, how many things could be out there?
Oh, I think there's a lot of things out there we had no idea is out,
really?
What's out there.
Okay.
Yeah, I really do. It's kind of fascinating how different things pop up sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, that start getting report. Here I go back to Chicago again. Who would ever thought that a winged humanoid would show up in an urban area like Chicago or the surroundings and cause all the stir it has caused over the years?
Mm-hmm.
People try to equate it to the Mothman. Well, it's not really similar to what people saw at Point Pleasant.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's much different. And it has some different aspects to some of the sightings. I mean, even the wing shape has changed.
Mm.
I believe there are a lot of them out there, and there's just not one. There's many. From the beginning, I thought there were at least 3 of them. Now I believe there are many dozens of them that are showing up.
Wow.
Why? That's one thing we haven't been able to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
But as time goes on, we're collecting evidence, so anecdotal for the most part, but we can start imagining what it could be,
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's been crazy. This whole case has been crazy from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And so I'm really intrigued by you saying, no, they're not. It's probably not the same thing that was in Point Pleasant or, the traditional Mothman,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of in and of itself was a microcosm event. It seems, and I'm not extraordinarily well versed on it, but I mean, it was just primarily around that one period of time. But with the Chicago ones, I've heard many different descriptions
Mm-hmm.
of these winged things that are popping up there. I've heard there's it looks like a person with wings. Then I've heard, well, it didn't look like a person. It looks like something bipedal, but you get everything from bat wings to like almost feathered wings. And then there's the ones that see them taking off, flapping their wings, and the ones that seen them take off with their wings stationary, like the wings aren't even moving, as if it's some other technology. And so that's where it gets real murky for me personally. What do you make of all that?
Well, I mean, what you said is true. I mean, people perceive things much different than anybody else. I mean,
okay.
Perception is 99% of what we do. I mean,
Sure.
When somebody describes something, you got to take what they saw. Hopefully they won't embellish on it.
Yeah.
And there have been instances where that happened. But, we've been working this, really 2011 was when this really started.
Okay.
Right now, we're at 168 sightings or encounters that we believe are viable.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. And we're talking about an area within 250-mile radius of downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
So it's in various states, various areas, and but all in all, what people are seeing are the same.
Okay.
Not all of them have red eyes. Not all of them have bat wings.
Mm-hmm.
There are some variations. There are instances where people have literally seen them disappear.
Oh, okay.
People have seen them just suddenly manifest. Yeah, and it's a whole litany of things involved with this cryptid. Now, that's why I had thought from the very beginning that it was more than one, and I'm convinced that many dozens of them have shown their way to the area. When I first started looking into this phenomena, well, more deeply in 2017, when we first started, getting all the reports in the early part of the year, my task force that I put together, Rosemary Ellen Goddard was part of our team. And in fact, she's the one that did the original presentation of the Chicago Mothman at the Mothman Festival in 2017 up at Point Pleasant.
Oh,
so
okay.
She did the actual presentation with all the evidence and everything. So she was part of the team until, of course, she got sick and passed away. But and you know how Rosemary was. She wanted to know what everything was, and it confounded her. She had no idea what this thing was, and she thought from the very beginning it wasn't connected to Point Pleasant. It was something entirely different. That whole Chicago Mothman moniker, that wasn't something that we came up with.
Yeah.
I was calling it the Chicago Phantom because I didn't know what the hell this thing was. Mm. And of course, when the media got a hold of it, they wanted to equate it with the Mothman at Point Pleasant, so they started calling it the Mothman. So that's where it was showing up in the papers and online and everything. And to try to avoid confusion, I went ahead with the Mothman moniker.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, because I didn't want anybody coming back and saying, well, there were two different things, and no, it wasn't. It was, but if they wanted to keep using that Mothman moniker, I said, well, fine, that's what we use.
It's just a term of endearment at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea it was going to get to the point where it did, but it did. And right. But it's interesting, and we still get reports. I mean, maybe not as frequently as we did, but it's still interesting to talk to witnesses, especially those that have no idea all this has been going on in the area.
Right.
There are a lot of people that know what's going on, but there are a lot of people that have no idea what's going on. And then they'll see something and they'll describe it. They'll go on Google, and then my name pops up and they contact me. And it's like, I don't know what I saw. Well, apparently you haven't been following what's been going on.
Right.
And many times their friends or neighbors or something, they'll say it to them and say, oh, yeah, I must have seen the Chicago Mothman. And then they'll contact me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty strange how this whole thing has evolved over the years. Now, Tobias Whalen and I have kind of taken the brunt of the cases in recent years. And it's something that, we continue to follow up on everything and work on it together. So,
okay.
And I'm lucky enough to have him because he's out there. So, he can go to a location and talk to a witness much easier than what I can because I'm living on the East Coast. So,
does it seem like the actual encounters or people seeing this is on the decline, or is it remaining pretty consistent, or what's your take on that?
That's hard to understand.
Sure.
There have been periods of waning before, where we'd go months without a sighting, and all of a sudden they start popping up again. I don't know the reason for that. 2023, I think we've had 6 reports.
Oh, okay.
That's fairly low.
Yeah,
I mean, in 2017, we had over 55 reports that whole year.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it comes and goes. We thought maybe it might be a seasonal thing, because of weather and all. Maybe the real bad weather kind of kept this thing from showing up. That wasn't it, because we've had them showing up in snowstorms and all kinds of crazy weather. So, I mean, that doesn't seem to have been a factor.
But
some of the encounters, some of the real close encounters have been really interesting.
Okay. Could you go into a couple, or what are people seeing?
Well, yeah, the two that stick out, and I had an encounter too in '88. Now, I don't know if you know all about that, but I'll talk about that later.
Sure.
When in 2017, when this was starting to reach its peak, there was a woman who lived out in Bolingbrook, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. She used to go take a nightly walk in her neighborhood, and there was a playground, a fairly large playground near her home where she used to walk through at night. And she'd go out like 10 o'clock at night. Well, this one particular night she went out there and she saw something tall standing on the sidewalk in the playground. And she thought it was two people embracing each other. Mm-hmm. Until she got closer to it, and this thing started gargling or gurgling and making all kinds of weird sounds. Oh. And it turned, and she got a profile of this thing, a head-on profile of it. And this thing was huge.
Oh,
9-10 foot in height. And when she got within like 20 to 15 feet of it, her knees literally buckled on her.
Oh.
I believe the thing was asleep. I think it was standing there asleep with the wings wrapped around it.
Oh, sure.
And when she lost control of her legs, she eventually got up, walked around it, and got to a park bench and sat there until she regained her composure, I guess. But she was watching this thing, and it didn't move. It was still standing there.
Oh, my God.
Well, she eventually got up and walked around behind the playground and went home. And when she got home, her son was there. And she told him what she encountered. He wanted to go see it. So they jumped in the car and they drove the block and a half to the playground. And as they approached it, this playground has real thick hedges in front of it. Mm-hmm. When they pulled up, this thing jumped out in front of the car.
Oh, jeez. Oh, no.
Scared the living crap out of them. And they went right home. She started going on Google and started looking for whatever. I mean, I don't even know what she was searching, but she found me.
Uh-huh.
And she got a hold of me within like a half an hour. So she called me.
Oh.
In the middle of the night, she called me and explained what happened. And, yeah, I think that's what it was. I mean, it could have been something else, but doubtful,
Uh-huh.
And since we were having all these reports. And then another case, another real close encounter case we had was later in that year, later in 2017. It was down on Lakeshore Drive, which is right along Lake Michigan.
Sure.
And there was a husband and wife who were visiting her mother who lived in Chicago. They were from Washington, D.C. And they were walking, it was like 9:30 in the evening. They were walking down Lakeshore Drive. And they were right in front of the condo where her mother lived at. And this large black being flew right in front of them from left to right, because the lake was to the left, flew in front of them, went over the trees, and flew up the side of the wall of the condo. And they're watching this thing, and it got to the top of the building and was hovering there, like it was staring through a window. And they're watching this thing, and as they're watching, this thing leans back and starts diving down in the tree. Well, by this time, they're running.
Yeah.
The road is Schiller Avenue. They took a right on Schiller Avenue to get to the entrance of the condo. And as they were running along Schiller Avenue, this thing literally descended in front of them. And it was like 3 foot above the ground. It was hovering above them with his bat-like wings spread out, had very bright red eyes. They told me that they felt it vibrating. They said the whole body of this thing was vibrating, and they felt it.
Oh, wow.
She lost all control of her body and just fell to the ground. And this thing hovered in front of them for about 10 seconds. Now, they did say there was a cargo van parked on Schiller Avenue, and this guy who was in the van saw it. He said something, I don't know, but he took off as quick as possible. Yeah. Then they saw a flash bulb from a phone go off across the street. So somebody tried to get a picture of it. But that's, we haven't been able to get any information. Well, anyway, as her husband picks her up, and then this thing starts to slowly ascend into the air with his wings spread out, like 15-foot wingspan.
Oh my God.
It is huge. And then goes up higher and higher and just flies off.
Amazing.
They got back to her mother's condo. And they were freaking out. Mm-hmm. So the next day they called me. I guess they were searching online. They found my number and called me and told me about what had happened. Well, long story short, they were supposed to fly back to D.C. that day. And she couldn't get on a plane for 3 days.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It shocked her that badly.
Sure.
Now, an interesting aspect to this sighting was the gentleman, her husband, was a professional athlete. I'm not going to say what team or what sport or anything, but he was a professional athlete in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
It's interesting because if we go back and look at the sightings and some of the witnesses are fairly well-known people.
Okay.
I'm talking about celebrities. I'm talking about local celebrities, news people in the Chicago area. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's very interesting. And another thing that we had deduced in the past year or so is that over 50% of the sightings reported were from people who had Hispanic descent.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And the reason that I say that is I know that in Hispanic countries, they take a lot of this stuff very much more seriously than we do here in America. I mean, they if somebody sees something, the police are actually going out looking for it. I mean, they're very sincere about their concern about things like this. Whereas up here in America, you just get, whatever you saw. Okay, go get your meds. So that's interesting that they would also, maybe they're more attuned to it. That
may be. That's one thing I was thinking. We had some sightings in areas with a heavy Hispanic population, like Little Village in Chicago. Uh-huh. We've had 10 sightings in that area, and that's almost like a 90% Mexican heritage there.
Wow.
So in a way, I'm not surprised that a lot of these witnesses are Hispanic descent. Actually, when people call me or I talk to witnesses now, it's one of the first questions I ask them: are you of Hispanic descent?
Oh,
but yeah, why? Mm-hmm. It is interesting. It really is.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to figure it out, but it's just another little aspect to this whole thing.
But it is a breadcrumb. It really is.
Yeah, it is.
That's cool. We had we got a call here, and then I got a request from the chat as well. Are you ready for a call, Lon?
Sure.
See it. I got to drag my window up a little bit here. All right, and this is our good friend, I think, Mr. Naysay in Minnesota. Is that you, Naysay?
Yes, sir, it is. Hey, Lon, this is Naysay, co-host with Kev Baker from Freaky Friday.
Hey, how you doing?
Great to hear your voice. Fantastic. Great to hear your voice. I am of Paleo-American descent, the Anishinaabe tribes. The French called us Ojibwe, English called us Chippewa. Mm-hmm. And that area prior to, the existence of America was the Anishinaabe land. And I've tried talking to a couple of my elders to try to hear what their perspective are. But one question I have, you were just talking about it briefly. Do you know if there's been any kind of stats on the sightings in comparison to the new moon or the full moon?
We have looked into that, and there's just really no connection that I can see. It happens in all aspects.
Okay. Well, the reason why I ask is because I was told by some of my elders that, at these periods of time, because of a frequency change, especially when it correlates with the equinox or the solstice, that there actually is a notable change of frequency. And this makes me ponder if the veil, for lack of a better explanation, if there's like a thinning of the veil where these entities are able to, because my personal belief, I think this entity is kind of trans-dimensional. Mm-hmm. And so that's where my questions are leading. If this has something to do with some. I
don't discount that theory. I mean, I think there are times when things are much more perceivable. I don't argue with the elders of tribes. I mean, I've been involved with so many of them over the years for various different types of activity that I take what they tell me pretty seriously. And you're talking about Ojibwe. You're talking about Ojibwe. We've had so many things happen up there in northern Minnesota into Ontario over the years. I've had a lot of hauntings and a lot of cryptids that people believe are involved with these Ojibwe tribes.
Well, I agree, and I've offered Brent and my sexy buddy there, Donnie, to come to the reservation, because the White Earth Reservation in northern Minnesota, we have family right there on the southeast border of the Chippewa National Forest that many, many people have witnessed. And there is allegations that this last spring that there were black helicopters that were crisscrossing over the reservation, and there were people proclaiming that they were chasing Sasquatch.
Honestly, that wouldn't surprise me. We've had, I've been involved with investigations in northern Minnesota where where we've had upright canines, cryptid canines, and Bigfoot as well. I mean, and a few other things, quite frankly.
Right.
So that activity is prevalent up there.
Right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to share Fine Giggles abundantly, and have a beautiful night. Toodles.
You too.
All right. Thanks, Naysay.
Thanks, Naysay.
We do have a request from the chat, and this is the other part I was talking about. It says, Lon, can you tell us about the people that reported one out on boat on Lake Michigan, please?
Oh, yeah, we did have one report where exactly where that was. It was north of the city. I know that. It was up in Lake County, I think, but it was out in the water. They had a boat, and the sighting itself was of two of these beings that were literally flying above the boat, doing all kinds of maneuvers, figure eight maneuvers, and all kinds of other stuff. I'm trying to think what the area, Montrose, is that the area? I forget. Anyway, but there was also either a meteor or a UFO sighting at the same time. It was a green light. It could have very well been a meteor, but but that did happen. I mean, but no, there were two of these beings. I mean, from the people that were on the boat who reported to us, that saw this thing.
All right. And then you said you had one yourself.
Yeah, I had an encounter back in 1988. That I believe now. People may think I'm completely crazy.
Join the club.
I think I was predestined somehow to be involved with this Chicago Mothman thing because of something I encountered back in 1988. Now, I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you what happened, and you guys can interpret it any way you want. But anyway, I was living in Baltimore, and I was at a Boy Scout, I don't know, it was a jamboree or something at Timonium Fairgrounds. I was there for actually an antique show, but they do a lot of different stuff during the weekends.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I went over there, and I ran into a guy who I was in Boy Scouts with when we lived up in Pennsylvania together. Mm-hmm. He and I were friends. In fact, he and I used to spend time on the Gettysburg battlefield as kids at night. Oh, yeah. And so he's seen a lot of different stuff that I've seen. Mm-hmm. So he knew I was into the paranormal.
Sure.
And I don't know, we just by happenstance ran into each other. So I hadn't seen him almost a dozen years. Mm-hmm. So this was October 1988. I was, we went and had some lunch, called up, started talking. So of course, him knowing I was involved with the paranormal and stuff, he asked me, he said, look, a friend of mine, and he's a scout master too, scout leader. And me and another scout leader are going up to the old Camp Conewago because there's been something going on up there all summer long where the troops have been camping out in the woods at the campgrounds and been run out of there because they're scared because they're hearing screaming sounds and they have no idea what it is. Uh-huh. Oh, okay. And he asked me, he said, we're going up there next weekend. You want to go along? Well, this was a long time ago. This would be when I didn't mind sleeping on the ground, and I don't think I'd ever do it now. But anyway, so I said, yeah. So we met up there that next Friday evening at the old Conewago camp, which is just down the road from where I live now, actually.
Oh, okay.
And I live in Conewago Township. So anyway, so we went up there and we met and we hiked into the woods, got all our gear and stuff, went into the area where this stuff has been going on. Right beside the Conewago Creek, and there's a trail there too, and we set up camp. Each of us had a tent, and we got everything going, and about 6 o'clock, starting to get dark, and we, are sitting around the campfire. Real quiet evening, nothing happened. So later in the evening, we decided to all go back to sleep because we planned on going hiking around the whole area the next day, that Saturday. So we went to bed, went to sleep, and next morning we woke up, sitting around the campfire, drinking coffee, and the other guy mentioned, he said, hey, did you guys hear something moving around the campsite last night? And I did. I heard, I actually, I thought it was one of them getting up to relieve themselves in the woods or something. I didn't think anything of it.
Sure.
But nothing was disturbed in the campsite, so we just thought maybe it was a deer or something. I don't know. Anyway, a lot of wildlife around there. So that day we spent most of the day out in the woods. We went everywhere. We didn't get back to almost 6 o'clock. It was just getting ready to turn dark. And so we're sitting there getting ready to make something to eat. We're, sitting around talking football and whatever came to mind. But nothing's going on. We're not hearing anything, not sensing anything. I'm not sensing anything. Mm-hmm. But around, I guess about 10 o'clock that night, we heard this screaming sound coming from the woods. Now, animals scream. Animals make all kinds of crazy noises,
Sure. Yeah.
I've heard rabbits scream that scared the living crap out of me.
Yeah, that's a horrible sound.
Oh, it is. It's awful. I thought, maybe this is a rabbit or something or a deer. I don't know. But it didn't last long. So we thought, okay, well, let's stay up for the night if we can. Okay. So we're sitting around the campfire. About an hour later, we hear it again. But this time, it sounded like a woman screaming. And I mean, it was loud. And it was kind of going in and out like this thing was flying around or running around. It was really eerie.
Yeah.
I had no idea where it was coming from or what it was.
Right.
So we're sitting there thinking, now, what the hell is this? What is all this? What's going on here? So we said, well, we're definitely staying up now. So we're sitting around the campfire, talking, keeping one ear open. So my legs started getting stiff. So I got up and walked around and got them stretched my legs, walked out to the trail right by the creek. And I just got this weird sense something was watching.
Yeah.
You know how you get that feeling like
sure.
Something is right here. So I went back. I guess it was like maybe 12:30 or 1 o'clock. I don't remember what time it was. But anyway, I went back to the campfire and talked. I said, hey, let's grab our flashlights and go out on the trail a bit and see if we see anything. Okay, we're not doing anything else, so that's what we did. So back to back, we're walking out on the trail. We didn't get 50 foot from the campsite when we all saw it.
Oh.
Standing in the creek, and the creek was pretty low at this time of year, was something that was dark, about 6 foot tall, and had red eyes.
Wow. And
by the time we got the flashlights on this thing, it literally jettisoned itself into the air with a whooshing sound.
Oh.
And when it reached its apex, it screamed out. I mean, it was freaky.
That's horrifying.
And it took off. Well, we're astounded by what we just saw.
Yeah.
So we ran back to the campsite. It wasn't far because we were right there.
Yeah.
And my buddy isn't talking. He's just sitting there. He's not saying a word. The other guy asked me, he said, look, did you see something on his back? And I did. I saw something on his back, like it had structures on its back. So could have been wings. Okay, I guess. But nothing unfurled.
Okay.
You know, this thing just literally shot into the air. So I'm trying to get my buddy to talk. He's not talking. But eventually he did, said, look, I'm not spending another minute out here. I'm going up to the administration building and spend the night up there.
Mm.
Okay, well, both of them did. They both went up there and spent it. I stayed at the campsite. I want to know what the hell this thing was.
Wow.
And, yeah, that was my winged humanoid encounter.
And that was it? At that point, that was it? Like it was over at that point?
Well, what happened was, now this was 2018. In 2008, I had been writing a blog for a couple of years now. So I went ahead and wrote about this encounter in the blog. And I started getting people in the area contacting me. And in fact, there was a guy who lived right downstream from there, Dick's Dam, who told me, he said, I've been hearing that screaming sound for 20 years now. And I didn't know what it was.
Wow.
Then about a week later, I got an email from a scoutmaster a scout leader who told me that, my troop was out at Camp Conewago a couple weeks ago. And the boys came running back up the trail during the day and were screaming and carrying on that they saw a dragon.
Oh.
And he thought they were pulling his leg, they thought, they're just playing games. But now, since he read that, he said, well, maybe they did see something.
Right.
Well, anyway, as the years went by, we've had about 5 other sightings along the Conewago Creek of this thing. The last sighting was about 4 years ago. But we've had these winged humanoid sightings in the Adams County, York County area. Been reported to us a couple occasions. So I don't know what it is about here. Mm-hmm. Is it related to what's been going on in Chicago? I don't know.
Right.
I mean, am I predestined to have been involved with this investigation about what I encountered? Oh, by the way, the 2 guys I was with,
mm-hmm.
they both passed away.
Oh, really? Young? Did they?
Yeah, they were fairly young. One died in a car accident. The other one died of cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it was within 10 years of us having that encounter. But no, I mean, think what you want, but it's just it just bugs me that maybe I was supposed to see this thing and get involved with this stuff in Chicago, because when all this stuff started in Chicago, there wasn't a whole lot getting out there, but we were getting reports, and why?
Right.
Why was it us?
Yeah, that's a good point. Now, can I ask you about, you said the eyes were red. Were they glowing red, or were they?
They were projecting light.
They were. Okay.
Wow.
Not like you were looking at reflectors. It was projecting light.
Wow.
And that's something that a lot of the witnesses in Chicago had mentioned as well, that the ones that do see red eyes, that they project light.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. So there's definitely something supernatural about it, because,
Right. Yeah, generally,
a creature on this airplane does not have red projecting lights, eyes,
Yeah.
So there's something going on there.
Is it like a bioluminescence kind of projecting light, or is it like a flashlight kind of projecting light?
We've had people tell us it is literally like the brake lights on a car.
Oh, so that's pretty significant then. Yeah. That's not just a glow. That's a projection.
It's a projecting light.
No doubt. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really incredible. Well, I mean, I do believe that, events happen in our lives to bring us somewhere, and it sounds like you're right there.
Well, I mean, it seems to happen to me a lot, but,
Well, that's how you know you're on the right path, I think, and that serendipity in life happens. I think that's definitely a sign from the universe that, Lon, you're doing just what you're supposed to be. Good job.
I guess so.
I think that's just phenomenal. I love I love this journey, because I really do like the fact that we live in a world full of mystery. I think that's wonderful, because I don't think if everything was all labeled and tagged, it would be a real boring place to me personally,
Yeah. Look, if I didn't enjoy doing this, I wouldn't do it.
Right.
I mean, it's been something I've been involved with most of my life.
Yeah.
I was doing paranormal investigations when I was in high school, back in the mid '70s.
That's so cool. I knew you'd been at this a long time.
Yeah, I've been doing this a long time.
I didn't know it was that long. That's really
I'll be 65 next month, so that goes to show you how long I've been doing this.
Well, you're wearing it well, brother. I think it's incredible. Maggie just sent a message. Love Lon. Thanks for all your research on the chat.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's really sweet. But what's next for Phantoms and Monsters, or for you, or where's the journey going from here, brother?
Well, whatever comes our way. I will tell you that, and I can't get into specifics because of non-disclosure, but we were involved in the filming of this phenomenon in Chicago.
Oh, cool!
This past summer, and it's going to be it will be presented on a well-known television, a well-known show.
Very cool.
I was really pleased with the way it was done, the whole aspect of it.
Sure.
Tobias and I were treated like kings. I mean, we were very happy with the way. So hopefully it'll be a good production. Oh,
very cool. I want to get back to, you just jogged my memory about something I wanted to say. And that was where you talked about the level of reporting and how it's kind of in a ebb and period. And you thought maybe it was due to the weather. And then it occurred to me, well, maybe it is, but maybe not in the same way as you were thinking, because for there to be sightings, there's got to be someone to see it. And when the weather's crappy, generally people don't go out that much. Yeah. So I'm sure you're right. There's another comment in the chat. Are there many different colors of glowing eyes?
We've had red, we've had green, and we had blue.
Oh, so that is.
Yeah, we had some green eyes up in Wisconsin. Two sightings in Wisconsin. Then we had a blue-eyed sighting, which was actually reported to me by Ken Gerhardt up near Milwaukee.
Oh, fantastic!
So, but I mean, other than the eyes, the overall description is very similar.
Okay.
So, yeah, this whole thing's crazy. I mean, hopefully when this is actually presented to the public in a format that I believe is going to be more conducive to piquing people's interest.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a resurgence of this, hopefully.
Good.
I think there's just a lot of people out there who are just don't want to come forward, who are,
Oh, right. Yeah. I think
it's just like anything else.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think that's pretty common in a lot of areas. And it makes you wonder, these are the things that are being reported, but how much more has been seen and will never be reported?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure if we got all the reports, I wouldn't have time for anything else.
You would become the Mothman instead of Lon Strickler.
Yeah.
So I think it's wonderful, but we're kind of nearing the end of our journey, brother. And I want you to definitely be able to plug all that you're doing and where people can find you and all of that. So if you don't mind, if you would do that.
Sure. Yeah, the website's phantomsandmonsters.com. It's a blog format. I've been doing this now for almost 18 years. I do a weekly podcast live show on YouTube at Phantoms and Monsters Radio. We do have guests occasionally, but for the most part, I do talk about the reports and some of the cases that we've been involved with. And it's a live show, and I take questions from the chat. And yeah, if anybody wants to get in on that, we do it on Friday nights at 9:00 Eastern. So,
how long?
And I've got a couple books out. I've got a couple audio books too now. But yeah, if you just put Lon Strickler on Amazon and search it, it'll all come up.
Yeah, Don's been posting some of your book stuff up in the chat as well. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And ladies and gentlemen, head over to Phantoms and Monsters Radio on YouTube and get subscribed too. I know that you've done amazing things for a number of years, and I've had the pleasure of watching your podcast as well, and it's very well done. And I just like to listen to you talk. Well, and the reason is there's a lot of people out there talking, but there isn't a lot of people out there talking with the pedigree that you have and the number of years of experience and stuff. And I think it's a great resource to get to, some great insights.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is, hopefully people learn something and not afraid of their inhibitions, and you see something, report it.
Yeah. And report it in phantomsandmonsters.com.
Exactly.
Well, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time. And we'll love to have you back in the future if you've got more time sometime. We'll continue this journey and keep exploring the world of the weird with Mr. Lon Strickler. All right, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today. So hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thank you again so much for all your love and support. Remember, if you want to follow the Paranormal Portal, probably the easiest way is to head over to paranormalportal.net, and that's the homepage for the Paranormal Portal, and you'll find links to all of our different social media and sites and information about the shows, including our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Paranormal Portal, or just look for Paranormal Portal on Google or whatever search engine, and you'll find links to our social media such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. So we're kind of all over the place, and we're spreading as well as we can. But anyway, thank you so much for the love and support. Y'all take care, and remember, we love y'all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Until next time.
Well, the only time she really turned with that famous was when I rode across the creek and got down off the horse. She turned to look at me.